Both Democratic candidates, of course, have New York connections and are in a close and crucial battle here in New York. But they've been far away from the action this weekend. Bernie Sanders was meeting the Pope at the Vatican, and Hillary Clinton went Hollywood, dining and raising big bucks with a famous Oscar winner in California. ABC's David Wright has more on that. Good morning, David.
Well, the two Democrats are back here in New York today for the final blitz before Tuesday's primary. Hillary Clinton will be out in Staten Island. Bernie Sanders back in Brooklyn for a big rally in Prospect Park.
That's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it is not.
With the showdown in New York just around the corner, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders haven't quite matched the hostility of this Saturday Night Live sketch.
You feel it?
Sanders, for one, is still glowing from his close encounter with Pope Francis.
He is one of the great leaders in modern world history, in my view.
Pope Francis is sensitive to any suggestion he might be seen as meddling in the U.S. election. He told reporters,
Il senatore Sanders.
"When I came down, I greeted them, shook their hands, and nothing more," he said, adding, "If anyone thinks that greeting someone means getting involved in politics, they should see a psychiatrist." Hillary Clinton campaigned in California. The crowd there mostly enthusiastic.
It's not enough to say what's wrong. You got to tell people what you're going to do to make it right.
But a few protesters, apparently Sanders supporters, crashed Clinton's fundraiser last night at George Clooney's L.A. residence, where tickets were $30,000 apiece. The protesters threw dollar bills at Clinton's motorcade.
We're in the money.
Even the host of the Clinton fundraiser, George Clooney, admits that $33,000 a ticket is an obscene amount of money. Last night, the Sanders people held their own fundraiser down the street at the home of the guy who founded the 99-cent store.
Oh, wow.
Tickets were $27.
So $33,000 or $27. Quite a differential.
That's the average donation that these people have been giving to the Sanders campaign.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. For more on all of this, let's bring in ABC News chief anchor George Stephanopoulos, who's getting ready to host This Week later this morning. Good morning, sir. So if Sanders loses in New York, is he done? And if he stays in, how much damage can he do to Hillary Clinton long term?
He is pretty much done if he loses in New York. Right now, he's behind in the popular vote, behind in the pledge delegates, behind in the super delegates. And this is a huge prize here in New York. If he wins in New York, Hillary Clinton would be the first person to lose her home state and go on to be the nominee. It would be very hard for her to keep on to fight that back. But the math is against Bernie Sanders if he loses in New York. He'd have to win every remaining state, not just win, but win each remaining state by a huge, huge margin. That's not going to happen.
Let's talk about the Republicans for a second. Donald Trump continuing to issue what seem to be kind of threats against his own party out in the stump. Yesterday, he complained about the rigged primary system, and he said, quote, if the Republican Party doesn't get behind him, here's the quote, you're going to have a rough July at the convention. Is he right about that?
I think he is. I mean, if he gets the majority of the delegates, wins the majority of the states, and wins the popular vote as well, but doesn't have the 1,237 he needs, he may not get the nomination, especially if he doesn't get there on the first ballot by somehow through negotiations, and that will lead to a rough convention because a majority of Republican voters right now think whoever gets the most votes, wins the most delegates going in, should get the nomination. But those delegates at Cleveland, Ted Cruz is doing a good job rounding them up right now. They're unlikely to go with Cruz past the second ballot. With Trump past the second ballot.
So it may be a rough July indeed. What's coming up on your show
Well, we're going to talk about all this morning. We have both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton this morning on the Democratic side, and we have those convention managers for Cruz and Trump. We'll talk about Cleveland.
A lot to talk about, George. Thank you. And let me amplify that point and remind you once again, don't forget to watch This Week later this morning, right here on ABC. George, thanks again.